Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome once again to the Steelers Hangover. Man, I tell you, we had a good run going for 11 consecutive hangovers. We were talking about the good hangover. Now we're mired in one that's just, gosh, the headache doesn't end, does it, Tony Defeo?
No, it's like Groundhog Day. They keep doing the same things over and over again, and now they're getting bad results.
Yeah, they do. As the Steelers lost to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo 26-15 in a very lackluster effort. It just was lackluster from the offensive side of the ball. We are going to talk about both the offense and the defense and the state of the team as well. The good news is the Pittsburgh Steelers will be in the postseason for the first time in 2 seasons. They were not there in 2018, not there in 2019. Courtesy of the Raiders and the Dolphins losing, they are going to be in the playoffs. You don't want to really back in, but yeah, they're backing in, and they're in, and that's the thing. It's how they could find a way to rebound, and that's the question right now, because there's a lot of pessimism in Steeler Nation right now. And there's a lot of fingers that you could point at a lot of different people. So, Tony, we're going to talk about all that, but let's look at the big picture first. Can they get out of this slump that they're in?
I mean, I've seen this before with them. Recently as 2016, they were mired in a big time slump in the middle of the year. They were besieged by injuries, and they got out of it, and they went all the way to the AFC Championship game. They won 9 games in a row, including the playoffs. And what they did that year essentially was they found the formula, and that was Le'Veon Bell. They rode Le'Veon Bell to the AFC Championship game, and with the help of the defense. And so they have to find that same kind of thing this year. They have to find what works and perfect it and get on a roll by the time the playoffs start.
They absolutely do, and you really got to hope that they can. They are going to need a little bit of help to get rest. Look, they could win this whole the division on their own. They definitely can. A lot of people thought it was sacrilegious that I am emphatic about rooting for the Ravens tonight. And look, yeah, I know it's not ideal. I know it feels dirty, but really, I know you say you want to do it on your own. You got in right now based on 11-0, so that is getting in on your own. You're 11-2 right now. You have got some issues. I believe that they're going to do whatever they can to try to work it out. Can they work it out? I don't know. But you don't want to go through the mindset. It's like, well, you might as well not even worry about the playoffs. Your season's over now. Well, yeah, I mean, I know the running game is not working. The Bills, Leslie Frazier told Tony Dungy that he was going to go ahead and make sure that his guys were playing up for those short passes, and they were really thwarting that any gains you can get from any of the completions that they had. So I get it, but the reason I'm rooting for the Ravens tonight is, look, if the Steelers win one more game, and we feel like they're going to do that, especially coming up this week against Cincinnati, they are the perfect team to play right now when you're in a slump, because they could be a good slump buster. Now, it's not a guaranteed win next week. Right. You know that. They still have to play well. They can very easily lose that game, and I get that. But that's a good opportunity to win. If Cleveland loses, then you're pretty much winning the division right there with one more win and that Cleveland loss. And the reason being is because Cleveland will then have 4 losses, and they would lose the tiebreaker based on the fact that they would have 3 division losses. And that is going to be paramount. Look, the Steelers could right the ship and go in and beat them in week 17 in Cleveland, but looks like there's not going to be a bye now unless Kansas City absolutely collapses and the Steelers get everything together. Unless that happens, they're not going to want to go into week 17 having to beat a team when they could possibly rest players, because they're not going to have a bye the next week. And this team, more than anything, needs rest and needs to heal. Tony, do you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they need rest, and they need to get this wrapped up as quickly as possible. I mean, in the division, they have to, that I'm sure they're not gonna just say, oh, forget about it. We want to. It doesn't matter what seed we get if we can get the number one seed. They're going to want to try to win the division, so they have to get that wrapped up as soon as possible. So I never understood that whole thing. Didn't we go through this 2 years ago? The opposite. People were saying it was sacrilegious to root for the Browns against the Ravens. I mean, you root for whatever team can help the Steelers win. So the sooner they get this division wrapped up, the better, as far as I'm concerned, because they have a lot of people they need to rest and not have to worry about. And I agree with you. I think the bye is kind of slipping away. So I think they need to just get the AFC North wrapped up and start resting these guys, because, I mean, it's getting ridiculous with some of these injuries.
Of course, you don't want to rest them too long, but that 1 week of rest can do a lot for this team. It really can. I got to tell you, you have got a situation where guys are players are dropping like flies. The defense. Now, let's say this. I want to applaud the defense for the way they played in the first half. They even played valiantly in the second half. They just didn't have it. And I think a lot of the time, I don't want to say this happened, but, they were playing above their heads because they're missing guys like Vince Williams. They're missing Robert Spillane, who is a fill-in himself. But it's how valuable that fill-in became. You're missing Joe Hayden. This team is, that's 3 important starters on that team. You had guys like Cam Sutton come in. He played lights out the first half. He got exposed a little bit in the second half. They switched guys on him. Then Diggs came alive. And I tell you what, Diggs is one of those players that I think is absolutely incredible. I think he was underrated coming into the season. And a lot of people thought, going to Buffalo, he's going to, it's cold. He's not going to catch balls there. Well, he is a very good player. I've had an opportunity living in the state of Maryland to actually follow him when he was in high school here too. So, just an absolute great player. Not to mention, you don't have Bud Dupree. You don't have Bush. Ryan O'Toole, thanks for bringing that up to me too. Those guys aren't there. So that's 4 starters, and that doesn't even include Spillane because he wasn't an original starter. He's a starter now. But so, Tony, with that being said, what happened to the defense in the second half? Was it just too much for them?
I just think they got worn down. Like you said, there were some adjustments with Diggs going on Sutton's side, and that was a mismatch that they exploited. But I just think they just got worn down. The first half, the offense, you're going against a defense that's not having a very good year in the Bills in 2020, and they get nothing but a touchdown that was set up by a turnover by Cam Sutton and Mike Hilton. I just think they just got worn out, and the offense just could not help them out. We talked about this so much last year about how things were going to be different once Ben came back, and how the reason why they couldn't run the ball, the reason why they couldn't move the ball is because they were crowding the line of scrimmage. And, we said, well, with Ben's reputation alone, that'll fix things. Well, now here we are, and they're crowding the line of scrimmage again because Ben, and for whatever reason, whether it's physically or he's afraid of the deficiencies along the line, whatever it is, he's throwing short passes. He's short, quick passes, and it's just not working. So I just think the defense got worn down in the second half, and because of injuries and because of being on the field too much.
And how demoralizing is it for a defense to see their offense give up all those 3 and outs and come back on the field and say, we're doing everything we can, and next thing you know, you've got a pick 6. So how demoralizing is that for this team, Tony?
It was very demoralizing because it felt to me like, just from watching it at home, it felt like that Pittsburgh was starting to take control of the game. It was 7-3. They limited the Bills to a field goal with the BS roughing the passer call on Mondo. They got out of that with a field goal. They're moving the ball. It looks like at the very least they're going to go in the halftime winning 7-3. And at that point, you're hoping after the completion to Ebron, you're hoping that they're going to go down and kick a field goal. Who knows? And then next thing you know, you're losing 9-7. It was deflating to me, so I can imagine how deflating it was to them. It had to feel an awful lot like it was for them last year down the stretch when the offense did absolutely nothing and the defense just got worn out over those last 3 games.
Let me ask you this now, because I agree with everything you said there. The offense is a huge problem for this team. What is the most fixable thing on this offense? I think the first thing that you fix would be drops, but we can say 4 or 5 things that are a problem on this offense right now. How many of it needs fixed just like that to maybe get them back on track to where they were maybe a month ago?
Well, I think the first thing is obviously the drops, but I think the second thing you have to do is you have to take it down the field a little bit more. You have to expand the passing game, and I don't mean 50, 60-yard bombs every other player 10 times a game. You have to hit and I'm not the first to say this. It's everybody's saying it. The intermediate routes. Last week, Jeff Hartman, I was following him on Twitter watching the game. He said, "Why aren't they trying to exploit the seams more often?" It's stuff like that. You have to be able to do that to open things up. I think the reason why they were running the ball so well earlier in the year is because they were running on Ben. They were game planning for Ben's reputation, meaning the opposing defenses. So now that they've caught on to them, they have to find a way to open things up in the passing game. And I think that would open up the running game. So those 3 things you could fix. The drops, obviously, that's on the players. They have to be able to fix it. And 2, that schematically, and that's with Ben opening things up. I mean, it's great that he's getting rid of the football quicker, but if it's not effective, what use is it? What point is doing it if it's not more effective?
How much of a wake-up call do you think it was for Deontay Johnson to be benched? And it looked like he did come back, and he looked better when he came back. Also, Eric Ebron, I think he took a little bit of time off, not nearly as long as what Deontay Johnson did. So do you think that was kind of a wake-up call, and maybe that those drops might be lower down on the list of something you have to clean up going forward?
I sure hope so. It wasn't as much of an issue over the last, I guess, 2 or 3 quarters of the game, but it certainly was a big problem early on. So maybe it was a message to him because, I think Deontay Johnson, I think he knows how valuable he is in that offense and into the passing game and how much they depend on him and how much the passing game flows through him. So for him to be sent to the bench for 2 quarters and then be replaced by James Washington, I think that had to be a wake up call for him. Mike Tomlin wasn't kidding last week when he said we're going to replace the guys who are dropping the balls with the ones who can catch the ball, and now he knows that he's got to clean up that part of his game where he's going to wind up back on the bench.
And he absolutely had to put him on the bench for that. He also had to send that message, and you could see the look on his face that it really had to be done. Now, for me, I think the drops can be cleaned up. I think it's the lack of the running game, and you alluded to that as well, Tony. I think that is probably one of the biggest problems right now because it's very easy to come up and really put 8 men in the box, stop the running game because the passing game with the short stuff is not working. Right. Look, I'm not looking for bombs from Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not looking for 40, 50-yard bombs. Right. I'm looking for 15 yards down the field, 20 yards down the field. And I really think that would make a big difference. But that begs the question. Ben Roethlisberger has been applauded for getting the ball out of his hands quicker than he ever has in his career, quicker than any time in the entire 2020 season for anybody in the league. So the shotgun is maybe killing them. Maybe if they take snaps behind center, it would be less predictable. They're probably last in the league as far as play action passing. They are also They're also last in the league almost in rushing. They're not quite there. I think after this game, they're probably going to be ranked 30th or 31st. But that's just inconceivable to me growing up around running backs like Franco Harris and Rocky Blyer and Barry Foster and even Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
You didn't have this problem with the game. The caveat though, the problem though, when you put Ben behind center, you risk getting him hurt more, not being in the shotgun. But maybe is it a problem? I know it's a good thing that he's getting the ball out quick, but is it so predictable? And the fact that when you hand off the ball being in the shotgun, that you have a whole lot more to run and the offensive line is not setting up anything up for you. Are you setting yourself up to fail by using that kind of scheme?
Yeah, now you are. You absolutely are now because they've caught on to it. The whole getting rid of the football thing was was nice earlier in the year because it was working. It was working, and that's why it was applauded. That's why everybody celebrated the fact that he was getting rid of the football quicker than any quarterback in the league and quicker than he ever had in his entire career. It was the complete opposite of his reputation of holding on to the ball too long. But it's not working anymore. So you have to change things up. And I agree. Take snaps from under center. Do whatever you can to have him roll out. I mean, he doesn't do any of that anymore. Something to get these defenders off their game and keep these defenders guessing and to keep them honest. I mean, it's just it's the same thing week in and week out now. And how long are we going to watch this before they decide we got to do something different? They did last night exactly what they've been doing. I didn't get that game plan. Why you would continue to do something that has not been working, that other teams have said this is not. We know what we knew what they were gonna do. So yeah, you have to. If it's under center, if it's intermediate passing, whatever you can do. I mean, he's not even looking past his first read anymore. He's just stepping back and boom and throwing the ball. And the passing lanes are too congested.
So a lot of people have suggested this, Tony, and I agree with everything that you're saying. A lot of people say that these short passes are making up for the fact or masking the fact that Ben Roethlisberger's arm is shot. I don't really believe that because there's a lot of overthrows on the passes. Right. And I really don't think if his arm was shot that he wouldn't be able to take those shots downfield. I think this is a scheme problem. Mike Tomlin talks about the laboratory, going back into the laboratory all the time. Is this a lab fix that could be done in 3 weeks going into the playoffs?
Well, I think it can be done. My question is, does Ben want it to be done? Does he want to change? That's the question, because everybody says it's Randy Fichter's offense, but really Ben's the coordinator. That's what people have always been saying. So they have to want to change, and I don't know if I'm worried about any part of his game or his body physically. I'm not worried about the arm. I think the arm's fine. I think people keep talking about his knees. I've heard that mentioned many a times today. Jason Locke on floor. I think they mentioned on the radio that his knees. So because I mean, if you look at the some of these passes, it's like he's not even stepping into the throws anymore. It's all arm. So I think if his arm was shot, he wouldn't be able to make some of the plays he does with all arm passes. He's not using his foundation. So I think if there is any problem with him physically, I think it might be a lower body issue. But yeah, I think it can be fixed. They just have to they have to get on it ASAP though.
All right, I am going to put you on the spot after the break, but I'm going to let you know what it is. It's not really putting you on the spot if I give you a little hint of what it's going to be. We're going to open up question and answer pretty soon, but I've got one question for you, Tony. I'm not going to have you answer it this second. I'm going to go to the super chat, but I want you to let this marinate in your cranium, and it's this. If you had to pick one scapegoat for the offensive woes, I'd like to know who you think in your mind is the one scapegoat right now that needs to fix the problem and can fix the problem the most. But before I do that, let's go to Garrett Slingerland gives us $10, and I really appreciate all you do, Garrett. Thank you so much. For anybody that gives us a super chat, $10, very, very generous. That helps us get microphones. We have a new BTSC microphone coming in this week that you will see from one of our contributors, so the sound quality will be so much better as well. So we appreciate it. If we have a giveaway, the super chat money goes to that as well. So thanks so much. How much of that loss, if any, do you put on the lack of inside linebacker depth? It looks to me like as soon as Diggs realized that's where he could work, he took over. That's pretty good. You know, I mean, that's really tough for me to answer. I think there's a lot of it, but if Vince Williams is in there, I really don't think defending the pass and defending a guy like Stephon Diggs is going to be easy for Vinny Vidi Vici to do. Spillane might do a better job of it. I thought Avery Williamson had a decent game for being thrust in there and still learning the system. Remember, he's a veteran, but he's learning a new system being here since November 1st. And actually later than November 1st because of the COVID rules. What's your thoughts on that, Tony?
Yeah, I think that's more about Cam Sutton. I think he ate his lunch on a couple of those plays. You saw, I think the one that they push him over physically. So I think it's more a Cam Sutton than a Cam Sutton issue. Maybe if Joe Hayden was in the game, maybe that's a different story as opposed to the inside linebackers.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a tough one, but yeah, I think I like that answer with Joe Hayden. I think that's a guy that you could have really used. Has he lost a little bit from his game when he first came in? Of course he has. He's still a fantastic veteran and does a lot when he's in there, and he's so valuable to that team. So, let's just say that. So good answer. Good question, though. Thank you very much.
Very good question.
So let's go ahead. Let's take a break. If you are checking us out on YouTube or Facebook, just stick around. You have nowhere you have to go. We're just going to take a breather. If you're on any of our family of podcast platforms, all you've got to do is go on over to download number 2. It takes a second. It's as simple as that. And we'll see you on the flip side. It's the Steelers Hangover. We're getting through it together. My name's Bryan Anthony Davis and Tony Defeo. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Tone Deaf is with me. Tony Defeo, as we're parting like it's 1969, not 1979, not 1999. 1999 wasn't the best season, but Prince made it fun to think about. But 1969 was a rough year. It's funny because that team went 1-13 that year. This team is 11-2, and we're freaking out. And I get it. We're freaking out because there's a lot of problems that came to the surface. But what I'm saying, even though a lot of things need rectified, there is a chance to rectify this. So I would not freak out yet. This is a team in the playoffs. This is a team that has a history of fighting through adversity. So I'm really excited to see what they can do. As Mike Tomlin said last week, excited about smiling in the face of adversity. Well, I'm still seeing frowns, so let's smile and see what happens. Now, Tony, I asked you a question before we got started. And the question that I asked you is if you were going to scapegoat somebody on the offensive side of the ball, it could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be whoever you want, it could be a scheme, it could be a unit. What's the biggest problem right now that has to be fixed immediately? And if it's fixed, the Steelers will be okay.
I'm glad you gave me some choices because I think it's the scheme. Honestly, I'm just this short passing game. I've never been so sure of anything in a long time. It's not working. I mean, every time these guys catch a ball, it feels like there's 10 defenders around them. So that has to be rectified. And I think the way you do that is opening things up. And if you open things up, it's gonna fix a lot of the things. How often last year did we make fun of Mason Rudolph for the -2 yard passes? Like the passes behind the line of scrimmage, and we thought, well, once Ben is back, it's going to fix everything because on reputation alone. So I think it's the scheme. So they have to fix that, and that encompasses a lot of different people. That encompasses Ben and Fickner, Matt Canada, if you want to throw him in there, whoever, they have to get together and change this around before the playoffs roll around.
I'm seeing a lot of things about there's some scuttlebutt, and I'm not paying complete attention to the live chat. Trying to do the show and do that. I'm not the best multitasker, I will tell you that. My wife tells me that. Jeff Hartman tells me that, and I own it. But I'm looking through and I'm noticing some people saying that, it's time to get rid of Ben. Look, hey, Ben was gone last season, and this team was 8-8.
Right.
I understand it. We got to remember that there was a reason this team was 11-0. It's not just because of who they played, because they played some good teams in there and beat some teams in there too. But Ben had it cooking. But the running game was also cooking too. So when you say scheme, I get it. If you want to talk about Ben and his $40 million hit in 2021 and everybody's loving on Sam Darnold, I love Sam Darnold, but I don't care about 2021 right now. I care about 2020, and exactly. I care about making this so much better. So, but I get it. I definitely get it. My good buddy, Mike Scott, I'm going to bring him up here. He's suggesting we should punt on first down every single time. No, Mike, we're not going to do it. But probably one of the smartest football names that I know, Mines, is my good friend Mike. So, but I love that. Yeah, Jordan Berry, man, he punted way too often yesterday. And boy, if you want to even more tired defense, do that. We'll be playing with me and you out there. And exactly. And Mike, who was a good linebacker back in his day, we might have to bring him in.
Yeah, I don't have the range I used to, so I don't know how good that would work, how much that would work. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, you can't. Sorry, go ahead.
I run the 40-40. I could run the 40 in 40 seconds. So Jeremy AH gives us $5. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I knew it was going to be a bad game when the very first play was a DJ drop pass. Painful game to try and watch, but still 11-2, and things can be fixed. Thank you, Jeremy. I should pay you $5 for that. I'm glad you said that. Tony, things can be fixed. We've seen the Steelers fix, but we haven't seen this many problems.
Right.
I believe in my heart that Cincinnati could be a fix-it game. It could be a cure-all game. You've got Indianapolis coming up. That's a weird team. And then you've got Cleveland, and hopefully that game doesn't matter. My thought is if you win the next two games, you can feel better going into the playoffs. Exactly. If you look at the playoffs right now, the Steelers would be playing the Miami Dolphins at home if it ended today. Would you take that?
Yeah. I mean, provided they're have some things figured out by then. And that's what I mean. People were talking about next year. And Matthew Stafford, I saw that in the live chat, and of course Sam Darnold, and fire this one and cut that one. But this is a great opportunity for them. Still, they're 11-2. This is a golden opportunity. And 4 years ago I mentioned that they got their act together. They got well playing a really crappy Browns team that would go on to win one game all year. So that's kind of what you had with the Bengals. And in that Browns game, that's when they figured out, okay, we're just going to ride with Le'Veon Bell because their receivers were hurt. Other than Antonio Brown, Darius Green, all those guys were hurt that year. He was a tight end, but they were limited, and they figured out a way to win, and they found it in that Browns game. So this could be a game, this Bengals game coming up next Monday, a way for them to figure some things out and get well and figure out how they can address things moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really good thought there too, Tony. I do appreciate you saying that. This is a great question. Wes Hickok, a big contributor to our shows over the years. Appreciate him. Serious talk. Should the training staff be a concern? Man, the same guys every season seem to be injured. You know what? A lot of guys are getting hurt all the time. Do we have a problem with the trainers, Tony? Or is this just the fact that people are getting hurt and they're beat up?
Yeah, I just think these are freak things. I mean, like a torn pectoral muscle. I mean, I mean, what kind of training is going to prevent that, or the ACL. I mean, those are non-contact injuries. I don't know how. I mean, who's a better athlete than Bud Dupree? I mean, that guy he really turned himself into a great athlete in recent years, and he just suffered a torn ACL doing nothing. I mean, just running, trying to make a play. He didn't like stumble or anything. He just tried to make a play and he hurt himself. So I don't know if the trainers are an issue. I just think it's, like you said, it could be the rigors of trying to play a long season and no training, no true training camp, or at least not the kind you had in the past. I don't think it's a trainer issue. I think it's just these are freakishly great and fast and big athletes, and maybe their bodies aren't meant to move the way put themselves through what they do every Sunday.
Maxwell McCormick, thanks, Max. He says, guys, Ben is killing us. Are you watching the games? He's part of the reason we're so limited on offense. I got to be honest with you, Tony. Maxwell's right. I watched the Hallmark Channel last night. I didn't watch this game, so I'm just reading everything in box scores and trying to figure out what's happening from them. Also, I'm streaming The Mandalorian on Disney Plus and watching old Fresh Prince reruns on HBO Max. So yeah, I really don't watch the game.
See, so you're not qualified to comment on yesterday's game.
No, I'm really not.
Well. I was watching OJ 25. It's actually pretty good.
I'd love to know more about that, but I got to get back to this game. Yeah, see, Max, I get it. Ben's killing us. I think the running game is killing us even more. I think Ben is fine. I think the running game, you get back to the running game to set up more opportunities downfield. He's not getting those opportunities downfield right now. He's getting the ball out really fast. I still think Ben could be okay for this team. Not just okay. Gosh, scratch that. Clip. Let's just say this. I think Ben could be great for this team. A month ago, nobody was caring about the way Ben was playing. Right. Everything is falling apart right now. And that's why I brought up the scapegoat question, because everybody has a different scapegoat here. The offensive line is not opening holes for the running game. The running game is not they're not quick enough right now to get through the holes that are open or go around ends. So I think there's a lot of problems there. A lot of people are saying, I don't even know this name. I'm going to try it. Squanchy? I think it's Squanchy. Squanchy says coaching. Yeah, I think coaching's a problem. Now, Dave Schofield took some flack yesterday on the post-game show in a comment that I thought was absolutely right on when he said, yes, this is on Mike Tomlin, but it's on Mike Tomlin to keep his other coaches accountable. It's not a Mike Tomlin problem as much as it is the other coaches. And I agree with that completely, because this is a scheme. I remember the 2013 Baltimore Ravens, or actually 2012 Baltimore Ravens, around week 11, they fired their offensive coordinator that was Cam Cameron at the time and brought in Jim Caldwell. And what happened? They won the Super Bowl with that team late. They made a change because they didn't like the offensive scheme, what was going on with that team. They caught fire as well. I'm not saying to fire Randy Fichtner. I want to go back to Dave's comment, which I love Dave's comment. He said this, look, you said Tomlin said, if you don't catch the football, we're going to find someone else that can catch the football. He did that. He was accountable. He took out Deontay Johnson, gave him a chance. He brought him back in. What happened? Deontay Johnson played better. Yes. Same with Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron had that one big drop. He came back in. He played better. He wasn't out nearly as long, but he did have some time on the pine, and number 89, Vance McDonald, was in there. Here's the problem. Randy Fichtner, and if it's not Randy Fichtner, if Ben Roethlisberger is making these decisions, then you have that very difficult conversation that says, look, we have got to change things. We've got to change what we're doing. Everyone's saying we're predictable. Guess what? We're predictable. It's your job to fix this. It's my job to tell you to fix it. And that's true. Mike Tomlin's job is not to go ahead and fix the offensive scheme. He's there to fix the offensive coordinator.
Right.
So the offensive coordinator fixes the scheme.
Right.
Same with the defense. I'm giving the defense a pass yesterday. I don't think it was a problem with the scheme on defense. I think it was a problem with COVID. I think it was a problem with injuries. I think it was a problem with them being gassed on defense, and it was tough. I want you to continue. We've got about 5 minutes left in the show. What I would like to see is throw in more questions. So if you got any questions, please feel free to send them in. I want to bring this one up because we were just talking about scheme. Faceless Man says, personnel packages choices have been terrible. Eric Bieniemy would never have Kelsey and Hill on the bench for 3rd and long. So why are we putting these stupid personnel packages out on possession downs? He's talking about having Jalen Samuels in there in situations, not having the big guys in there. Good comment, Faceless Man. Tony, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, you're 4 deep at receiver. You have Ebron. I mean, I realize that those guys were being disciplined yesterday because of the drops, but you're 4 deep at receiver, and you have basically another receiver at tight end. You could have those guys in there instead of Jalen Samuels. I mean, he's a nice player, but he's not a game breaker. He's not anybody who's going to help you win any games. So that, yeah, why are they doing that? Why are they putting these guys in there? And people keep talking about Ray McLeod. I mean, he's okay as on the jet sweeps and everything, but I don't know how much of a receiver he is. So when these guys come in there, they kind of know that they're gonna go to them, I think. So yeah, I don't get it. I think they should again, you have to simplify what you're doing in a certain, like, at least when it comes to personnel over these last few weeks, and try to just find something that works.
AJ Gavin Anthony, a fine contributor to the show, asked, bad, did the drop issues end? I didn't watch the second half. I don't blame you. If I didn't have to watch the second half, which I did watch the second half, I watched the entire game. If I didn't have to do a show afterwards, I wanted to go to bed. But I'm there till the end. Even if I could go to bed, I wasn't going to, because I kept on having hope that they were going to get it together. They got better. When Deontay Johnson got back in, he secured the ball so much better. I think anything that fell to the turf, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, but anything that fell to the turf in the last half of the game was more of just a connection issue, and it wasn't because of bad hands. There's a difference in drops. There's those 50-50 balls that there's balls that are knocked out of your hands by a defensive back, and the best receiver in the best set of hands, the best receiver in the world, isn't going to catch that ball if someone's slapping it away and they get in there. That's the difference. We're talking about, I throw the ball to you, it hits your hands, you cannot secure it, it falls to the turf. That's the big drop issue. Deontay didn't have one again after the first 2, which were egregious. They were terrible. Yes. And Mike Tomlin had to take him out, and he did. I'm very glad. I was thinking the entire time. I did not tweet this out, but because I was too lazy to, but they need to bring him back in, because he does so much as far as an athletic standpoint when he does get the ball. However, the drops have to be fixed, and that sent the ultimate message. My problem was, why was the message not received before that game? Yeah. Why did it have to take the punishment? I say this to my 11-year-old or my 13-year-old all the time. Why do I have to yell at you to stop fighting with each other? Why do I have to scream at you and take your iPad away to go ahead and take the garbage out or empty the dishwasher? Why does it have to get to that? Yeah. So that's basically what I'm going for there.
And we don't know if it worked yet anyway with Deontay Johnson. I mean, it's a small sample size. So I guess we'll find out moving forward if he got that message. But he certainly got the message after he came back in.
We've got a couple more super chats to take care of. 2 of Two BTSC favorites who are always here. Isaac Aguilera, $5. Why can't we tell Ben, hey, we are going to run more out of I formation, throw out of it as well. Tired of running out of the gun. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Isaac. Thank you so much for the contribution. That they're kind of a double-edged sword there, Tony. The reason I think there's a double-edged sword, you risk getting him hurt more, and it throws off what they've worked on. But I think at this point, you go for the risk, and you hope that this offense is able to keep him going, keep him upright. The offensive line, he got sacked twice yesterday, but that was the first time in almost 250 dropbacks that he got sacked. So I get everything you're saying there. I'm tired of them running out of the gun too. I think it helps. It's masking some more problems as far as, and it's trying to keep him safer, but safe doesn't win it. So there you go. Kathy Forrid, what would each of you do first if you ran the Steelers? The first thing I do, Tony, is I would get rid of these rounded numbers and go back to the blocks of the 70s. But that I don't think that's the question here. The first thing I would do if I ran the Steelers right now, I mean, I guess that's if I'm the head coach, I do exactly what I was preaching earlier, and you have one of those come to heaven talks and with the offensive coordinator, with the quarterback, and say, look, we only have 3 regular season games left to get to the playoffs, and we know how to right this ship right now. You also have Sean Surratt in there. You have the running backs. You have the running backs in there too. And you find a way to fix this entire problem, and it starts with scheme. That's what you said with scheme. That's what I do. Tony, what would you do?
Yeah, I would. It comes back to finding a formula that works for you down the stretch, and it doesn't matter what it is. It just has to work. It has to be something you're comfortable with. Whether you're, Ben, Randy Fichtner, the receivers, the whole bunch. You just have to find something that works, like they did in 2016 with Le'Veon Bell. Find something that works, stick with it, perfect it. And obviously, expand it when the time comes. You don't want to be too predictable, but you have to find something that works. And you have to, instead of, at this point, you just have to find your formula and not just do what you've been doing up until now because it worked over the first 11 games. You have to find a way to get through these next 3 games and the playoffs. That's really the only thing that matters right now. Not what worked in October. It's what's going to work in December.
Double HH says, I just feel like birching. I hope that's not a typo. I hope he put birching in because that's really funny if it is. I might use that. Son of a birch about everything today. Russian hackers, lame offensive players, and my wife and girlfriend are all open to criticism today. He's got a wife and a girlfriend.
Wow. Good for you, man.
I got to tell you, I mean, Russian hackers might not be your worst problem, buddy, if you've got a wife and a girlfriend.
Yeah, speaking of double-edged swords, that's having a wife and a girlfriend. That's a double-edged sword. I
love it. Great comment. Jason Lewis, you're right on, man. Offensive line is not run blocking well, and it's not. Definitely isn't. Mark Tobin asked this question: why are we not going deep middle to Claypool and Ebron? I think they try to do that a little bit more with Ebron. I'm wondering about Claypool. I heard he was not feeling well before the game. I'm wondering if he's hit that rookie wall. Tony, thoughts?
Yeah, I can't figure out any reason. I mean, I think he's their most potent offensive weapon. The only thing I could think of is he's just, like you just said, he's worn out. He's a rookie and he's wearing down. It's the only thing I can think of, or there's some injury that we're not aware of.
Absolutely. So running out of time here, and Snowman says, whatever happened to reading my super chat? Snowman, I lost it. And remember what I said about my multitasking? It's not that good. So I do apologize that I missed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to go ahead and not throw up the money, but throw up your question or your chat and give it to me, and I will read it before the end of the show. So I do apologize for that. It's one of those things. We got
that's my fault too.
and a bunch
I saw it,
on
and I
Facebook,
did.
so,
It's my job to notice those things too. So it's not just Brian's fault.
oh, I'll take the blame, but thank you. I do appreciate it. So yeah, Snowman, throw that back up. And while we're wrapping things up, I will definitely get that on. So I appreciate it. So just go ahead and type that in as soon as it comes up. I got you. So, Tony, what I want to say here is we've got a game next week at this time. So there's not going to be a hangover next Monday, but there is going to be a hangover on Tuesday. And hopefully it's a really good hangover. But I got to tell you, we had close to 200 people in the live chat here. And we have a bunch more that we're welcoming in on Facebook. So I'm going to thank all of you, whether you're new to this show or whether you've been around a long time, like the Snowmans, like the Big Marvs, like the Cathys and the Isaacs and the Wesses. So if you have, we appreciate it. Appreciate that you've been here for a long time. If you're brand new, we want you to be here for a long time. We want to know your name just like that, and we will. Because when I look at all these names in the live chat, I look at a family, and the family to me is important because just as we lean on our Steeler family, just as we lean on our regular family, and that's something that I'm going to be doing as soon as I get off this show. Not because of the Steelers. I have some family issues to take care of. In fact, I'm going to say it. My 14-year-old godson and nephew, who I love dearly, lost his dog today. Oh, I know it's a dog, and I get it. He watched his dog run out in traffic. He's having a terrible time of it, and
that's horrible.
And I'm going to go and be there so he can lean on me. One of the biggest Steeler fans you're ever going to meet. Uncle taught him well. So I need to go be there for him. I know sometimes something like that pales into comparison to a family member, losing a family member or a friend or a tragedy. I know that. I know a football game pales in comparison to everything we just said too. But as a family here, as a Steeler BTSC family, when it's going bad, we need to be with each other just as much as we need to be with each other when it's going good. So when I'm hungover from a bad game and I come in here and I see all these names and then I see someone like Brad Jewett that says, hey, we're going to be fine. It's going to be all right. And I didn't bring it up. He wrote, love y'all. It's going to be okay. Hey, I love you all. And I thank you for being my Steeler family. And I appreciate all of you. Let's read Snowman here. I'd rather be 11-2 than 0-12. Just ask the Jets if they would like to switch records. Snowman, $5. Thanks so much. You know, unfortunately, some people in the live chat would want that 0-12 because they want Trevor Lawrence. But really, I'm glad to be 11-2, and I agree with you completely. Thanks so much for that, Snowman. Tony, any last thoughts?
I echo Snowman's sentiments. I mean, as I said earlier, they have a great opportunity to turn this around and do something special. And just think of the last 2 Decembers, how awful it was at the end of the year when they missed the playoffs, and we were hoping and praying for the Texans to care in that last game against the Titans in order to help the Steelers get in. And the year before, the Browns, they had to win in order for the Steelers to make the playoffs. They don't have to worry about that this year. They're in. All they have to do now is find a way to become a true contender, or by the time the playoffs start, and then they can make some real magic happen. So it's a great opportunity, as Bill Cowher would say. You can't take it for granted, and you have to do your best to take advantage of it. And I think they're going to do their best to at least try to take advantage of it.
So I want to leave us with this. Super Steelers, all the TV talking heads have pretty much written off the Steelers after this loss. I want to ask each and every one of you, are you going to do that too? No, you're not. I know you're not, because you come back every week, even though you feel demoralized about that loss last week and that loss last night. You believe in this team. I believe in this team. Tom Vallejo wishes Cowher would come back. I love Cowher, but I love me Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is the one guy right now that could get this job done.
Oh, absolutely.
Jerry Cherryband mentioned that the Jets might get Cowher. Cowher said pretty much no to that, but I got to tell you, If they did, I'd be a Jets fan because I love me some Bill Cowher. You know that. But I think, once again, Mike Tomlin is the guy for this. So let's go get it next week. I'm telling you, this team can get it together and right this ship. Let's believe. I want to thank everybody for that the kind words about my nephew's dog. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. This is football, and this is our love. So guess what? We're going to follow our love until the end, and we'll talk to you next week, my friends. For Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You could call me bad, and just when you think you know all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Rowdy Piper, I love you, baby. We'll talk to you later. See you next week. Believe, fans. We got this.